So hello everyone, I have decided to go ahead and try to do this video. I wanted to give you an update on what happened regarding the restraining order hearing, which is the second one by the company that fired me back in January 2022. I had this hearing last Wednesday on the November the 8th. And the background, a little bit of background before I begin. I may have to do this video in two parts. Basically, I started this channel because basically I hate myself. I'm a person that despises who I am and has learned to hate myself and beat myself up for years because I've never been able to find resolution to my problems. So that's why I call my channel Love Left Me Forever. So I'm very afraid right now to make this video. But I feel fear, but I'm not afraid. It's the difference between feeling fear and being afraid. You can feel fear, but I'm not afraid enough to not make the video. I take a great risk at making this video. There are people that want to do me harm, and there are people that want to lock me up. And it's a long, long story of mental health problems, being involved in the Course of Miracles, rejection. It goes back 40, 50 years. But the background of the restraining order here, and try to be brief, I'm going to make changes in the way I present, in my demeanor. I'm going to start being nicer to myself. And I'm not going to tolerate any more disrespect from people on my channel that come on and attack. I took off another video. Some guy, Gorilla God Gaming, had stole one of my videos and put it on his. Now his channel has been, I think, taken down or blocked. So if you try to take my video, you have no permission, you put it on your channel, I'm going to come after your ass and have it taken and contact YouTube and have a strike issued against your channel. So the background of the restraining order, which led to this hearing, which occurred last Wednesday, and I've had to wait this many days just to calm down from the anxiety from what happened. Well, basically I lost, but I pretty well knew I was going to. But in 2021, I had a job, and obviously there's going to be no names and no mention of the company, and obviously it's not worth going to jail or getting in further trouble. I do not know if the company that fired me and the attorneys know about my channel, but here's the long and short of it, is how I ended up in the situation I'm in. I had a job. I worked there for 8 months in 2021 and a half a month in 2022. I had a very good relationship with my female boss. We got along fine. I did nothing inappropriate to her, as far as touching her or making any kind of request. We were friends on Facebook, and we texted on my days off. We were just friends, and she was a younger woman, and I never did anything inappropriate to this woman. Now, the last month I was there, I've started getting very depressed, feeling suicidal. I've had a long history of these mental health problems. And the main reason that I was suicidal is because I'm alone. I'm lonely. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. Don't have any friends. And it was during a period, Christmas that just went by, and just a very depressing Christmas and Thanksgiving holiday in 2021. I by myself the whole time. So by the middle of January, I just had basically had nothing left to give. I was a warehouse manager. It was hard work. I was on the forklift. I was doing loading, and I just ran out of steam. I just had basically a mental health meltdown, and I went to my boss. This is back again, January 2022, and she knew about my struggles. We had talked before, and she assured me that she was not worried about me in the least. She told me over and over, she wasn't afraid of me. But I've learned a long time ago, you can't trust anything anybody says, especially if it comes from a woman. So I was a fool, I assume. So anyhow, on this particular day in the middle of January, I went to her and said, I need help. I basically, I'm feeling suicidal, and I don't know what to do. And this was on a Monday of that month, and she decided. She said, "Okay, just relax. I know what to do." So she calls the HR department, and the HR department puts me on touch with a lady who helps employees who are in crisis, drug addiction, mental health, whatever. And I was assured that I was going to get help, and I went home for the rest of the day voluntarily. I mean, nobody told me to go home. I was stressed out, and I missed a phone call from this woman, the HR manager, that afternoon, and she got concerned and called the police. So later on that evening, on that Monday, the police came knocking on my door, and of course, now I'm really upset because when they come over, they do a wellness check, and you run the risk of going to be put in the crisis unit, which I didn't want. And so now, I'm really upset. Now the police have come, plus, I've got the pressure of my job, and I came to work the next day on Tuesday, and I worked the whole day. There was not any kind of incident that I recall. I just worked, went home. And then Wednesday I was off. So me and my boss, we corresponded a little bit by text. She's checking on me and how I was doing. Told her I'd be okay. And I was feeling a little bit better, but I still had a lot of anxiety about the police coming over. And she told me I didn't have to come to work the next day. If I wouldn't have came to work the next day, I probably wouldn't be on this video. It wouldn't. The reality would have changed to a different reality, and none of this would have ever occurred. So the next morning when I got up on a Thursday, this is January 2022, I decided to go to work. I completely forgot that I had 59 hours of vacation time. So I get to work. The place is hectic. Customers, there's deliveries that have to be put out, and I'm just overwhelmed by all of it. I was able to work through it. I was able to get past it and load the deliveries. I had to unload a truck. By 1 o'clock, it slowed down. So about 2 o'clock that afternoon, which was my last day at work, I wasn't feeling any better. I was still scared, feeling, suicidal, even though I've never harmed myself. But I told my supervisor that, I'm still feeling vulnerable and afraid. And she said, "Well, you're welcome to go home, if you wish. Nobody's going to say anything." Well, at this point, nobody in the company knew anything about my problems other than the woman that was in the HR department. My boss's regional manager and the people that were above her were not aware of anything because nothing was going on. I just was trying to get help at my job. And so I decided, she said, "Well, if you want to work in the warehouse and just stay out of the showroom, I don't have to deal with the customers," which that's fine. I only had like 3 hours to go, so I'm in the warehouse. And 10 minutes, 20 minutes after I'm in the warehouse, the police show up. Two more officers show up, and they come to the warehouse to check on me. And I asked, obviously I assumed that my boss had called him. And I said, "Who called you?" And they gave me a name that I didn't recognize. They called out a male name of a person. I didn't even know who he was. Well, it turned out he was the loss prevention officer of this company. So somebody at the store, had called. It was only just one person it could have been. And so the story that my boss told me was she thought that I had called the police. And what she had done was she got a phone call from her regional manager about something else, not even related to me. And I guess my boss, she was nervous, full of anxiety about me being in crisis. And he could hear the anxiety in her voice. Asked her what was wrong. And of all the words that she could have chose, she chose, "I'm worried about me." She called my name. "I'm worried about me." Or, Wayne, worried about Wayne. Well, that set a chain of events. So when the manager heard this, the regional manager, who was not, he was somewhere else, in another state probably, He panics. He's thinking that I'm going crazy. He thinks there's a guy at the store that's totally berserk. I'm out there in the back sweeping in the warehouse. I haven't done anything. I haven't threatened anyone. I haven't raised my voice. Just I'm in a crisis, and so he just panics and thinks I'm in fixing to be like some kind of a rage. And my supervisor doesn't even know what's going on. She's in the dark about it. So the police, and we go into the office of my boss and we talk, and we get on a three-way phone call with the regional manager, and he asked me what's going on, and I told him I was in a crisis, and then I have been trying to get help through the HR department. He said, "Well, we want you to just go ahead and turn in your keys and go on home for the day, and we'll let you know what's going to happen." I've done nothing up until this point. Nothing. I knew my job was over. I was fired because I had a mental health problem, and they were afraid of me now. So, as I left, I tried to call my boss, and she answered the phone, and she said, "We'll talk later." So the first thing I did, which was not smart, but I did it. I was very angry. I was very upset. I was very scared. I went home and I wrote a long Facebook post about what happened. I just did a Facebook post about everything that had been going on at my job. I admitted that I had attraction to my supervisor, but I hadn't done anything, and that she repeatedly told me that she was not worried about me in any form, and I believed her. And I told them on this Facebook post, I just poured it out there. Talked about it was unwise, I guess. I talked about my mental health history. I talked about the police coming over that day to check on me. A lot of what I did wrong was, I didn't even mention the company. I didn't even mention the company. Or names. I mean, I had the post, and so somebody they knew they had fired me. So the bottom line is they knew they had fired me wrongly. They knew that they had discriminated against me as far as mental health, and they're looking for ways to cover themselves, to protect themselves. So they found the post. Somebody found the post on my Facebook. So they were looking. They were looking for something they could use as a loophole. So I tried to contact my boss that night. There was no more. She didn't communicate back. And so I knew that she had been ordered not to communicate. And then she took me off her Facebook. She was no longer visible as a Facebook friend or messenger. So I didn't do anything else. I just kept I didn't try to. I knew she didn't want to talk to me, or that she couldn't talk to me. So I made no further attempt to talk to her. And I haven't talked to her in 21 months, which has gone by. But this is back now. We're talking about January 2022. The only other thing I did, I had written my boss a song, and I think y'all have seen that song before when I had it up for a while, and I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore, so I took it down. I wrote her a song, and she knew about the song, but she hadn't seen it, and I did text her the length of the song, and I put it in a private mode. I put it in unlisted on YouTube, so only she could see it with a link. And I had a message telling her I was sorry for what had happened, and I felt bad about it and everything. I had no idea that a restraining order was coming. And actually, the restraining order was in process, and I didn't know about it. So this is about a week after I was fired. This is like early February now. Well, no, it was still late. Yeah, early February 2022. So I sent her the song, and that's the last I ever sent her another text. So at that point, I'd have been able to move on. I had no money. I had like $60 to my name. They left me with nothing, no severance pay. I went ahead and filed for unemployment, and I got the unemployment 6 months later. And I'll try to tell you about that later on if I have time in this video. I figured I got maybe a 50% chance of getting unemployment because they're going to have to tell the real reason they fired me. And but anyhow, 3 days after I had sent that song to my boss, I got a knock at the door, and it was a server bringing me the restraining order, temporary restraining order. This was like maybe February the 6th, maybe, telling me I had to be in court in 30 days in March 3rd of 2022. And I mean, the day I lost my job was the worst day of my life because I lost my friend, my boss, and I lost my job, my income. I lost everything, and I had no one to talk to. I had no counsel. I had nowhere to go. The pain was terrible. So 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, okay, I can survive this. I just move on. But when that restraining order come, that was a battle call. When they came after me with a restraining order, they accused me of making inappropriate comments, asking my boss for sex. All this is a lie. Telling me that I threatened other employees, that I was a threat. I was just vile, disgusting. And the Facebook post didn't even mention the company. They used the Facebook post as justification. Because, obviously they knew who it was. I mean, I'm not going to hide. That's who I was talking about, and they knew it. But legally, they couldn't prove it. But that's how they got the restraining order. And then this is where it really gets bad. I spent the next 30 days, and I typed up, I had this big, heavy-duty binder. I'm not going to show you the stuff I had written on it. And inside this binder, I had all the court documents and the restraining order and everything that I had communicated, the lyrics to the song I wrote. And I had typed up basically 28 pages in response to their allegations. I had typed 28 pages of documents, over 20,000 words to everything they said I did. Claiming that I made sexually appropriate comments or that I threatened people. And they were ugly and they were nasty, the stuff they said. And I mean, I wanted to go to the restraining. The first restraining order hearing was in March of 2022. And I tried to find a lawyer and couldn't find a lawyer. Couldn't find one. No one wanted to touch me with a 10-foot pole. So I had everything ready, so I'm going to represent myself. So 3 days before the restraining order hearing in March 2022, I had left the phone call to a female attorney's office, and she called back, and it went to my voicemail. And so this is how the relationship with this lady started. She says, she doesn't say, hi, how are you? I'm glad you called me. I want to try to help you. Let's get together and discuss this. She says, this is how the conversation started. Well, I'll represent you in court and present your case, but if you write me a bad check, I'm going to prosecute you. Our office is going to prosecute you, and you'll be put in jail. So this is how the relationship started with, and I had to pay this woman $1,500 just, for her to go to court. And when I tried to meet with the attorney, she didn't even have we didn't go to her office. We sat in her car in a parking lot in downtown Chattanooga while she smoked cigarettes. And it was just like, what is going on here? Can't even sit down in a private office and discuss my case. We only got like 2 days before the hearing. I think this was on the 1st, and the hearing was on the 3rd. So this woman just, all she cares about the money. That's the bottom line. And I didn't have time. I had to drive 26 miles to another town to get to my bank to get the money. And I had to show her a screenshot finally of my bank account. And she said, okay. So she let me write her check. She wanted cash. That's all she cared about. And so the court date, a day before the court, I'm ready to go in and present and tell my side of the story. My boss was going to be there. And I was told, and the attorney did tell me that she had spoken to my boss, and the boss basically had not been truthful, and that she had been scared, and she was worried, and all this, and she wanted, she wished me well, but she wanted me never to contact her again. Yeah, that's not what she told me when I worked there. We talked every day, we joked every day. She texted me I don't want to ramble about on that, but the bottom line is, about 24 hours before the court, my boss this attorney calls me and says, well, I just spoke to the attorney for the company that's going to be there, and it's a good thing I did. He's going to file perjury charges against you, and you're going to go to jail if you try to go into the courtroom and tell your side of the story, because the judge is not going to believe you. She's going to always believe a woman. So if you go in there and say they lied and this and that, and you start telling this, you'll be arrested probably within 3 days. And she tells me that I know the district attorney and I'm good friends with him, and I'm pretty sure he'll go along with whatever the prosecutor, this prosecutor will come up with, decide. When I heard those words, I was terrified, because I am terrified of going to jail. I spent 2 nights in jail in 1994 for a DUI, and it was the worst time of my life. I was terrified and I was scared. So she hit the nerve, and I was too scared to go forward with the hearing. Well, I went to the hearing, but what they did, they wanted me out of court. They didn't want me to go into that court. So what we did, they made me sign an injunction. An injunction is, you don't have to go through a full trial of evidence. You just agree to the terms that the company's accusing you of. You can't approach got to stay away from the place of employment, your former boss, contacting them. You just agreed to the terms, which we're all of the petition, which I didn't want to do. I want to tell my side of the story. Well, I couldn't do it out of fear. I mean, if I'm going to tell my side of the story, I believed I'd be going to jail. And I didn't have time to look for any other all I had to my name was $1,500 that I had in a checking account, savings account, to give to this woman. So I was so disappointed. So I went to this court, and it was the same judge that I saw just last week. And it was a female judge. She never talked to her. She never talked to me. All I did was sign paperwork. I was out of there in 15 minutes. And as I was walking out of the courtroom, the defense attorney, not the defense attorney, but the attorney that was trying that had brought the restraining order against me for the company, hands me a pamphlet. He says, "Sir, you need Jesus." And he handed me a pamphlet. "You need Jesus." And then my attorney, she chides in and says, "He sure does." Can you imagine what I felt like? And I realized that my attorney and this prosecutor, that they were all together on the same side. And I believe in my heart that they all got together and conspired with my former boss to figure out a way to keep me out of jail, so she didn't have to come. She didn't come to the hearing. They all did it to protect her interest, and nobody cared a thing about that I had been fired for bringing up the fact that I needed help. And I found out later, last week, why I lost my job, which is what I always expected. So for 21 months, this hole has been in my heart. And I wrote an article on Medium called "The Hole in My Heart," which I had to take down. So the first restraining order went from March 2022 to March 2023, just 8 months ago. And of course, I didn't disobey it. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go see my boss or call. I have no desire. But think of the fear. If she wanted to be vindictive, all she'd have to do, or they have to do, is say, "Hey, this guy's called me. This guy's came by, and the police will arrest me and put me in jail without any evidence." They will listen to that person, former company, former boss, if they were to threaten or were to say, "Hey, he violated the order." So that's what I lived under. Now I live under it for 3 years, because they renewed it for 3 years last week. So what brought us back to the present moment here was last March, my restraining order ended. Well, it ended, expired. I didn't do anything. And I wrote a long post on medium.com and told all the details that I just told you. Worked at the company. I did have feelings for my boss. I did share those feelings. Didn't act on them. That I had an addiction to porn. I had mental health problems. I've seen 250 therapists. I put it out there because that's what I do. Now, my mistake was I didn't mention my boss's last name, but I put the first name. And I accidentally put in the name of the company. And that's what did it. If I wouldn't have done those two things, they couldn't have done anything. So this prosecutor for the company, evidently he's been looking for things against me to see if I'm doing anything, still talking about it, and he found it. And so then about 3 weeks ago, I went to a job interview, and while I was sitting there, I looked at my phone, and I had got an email from that attorney saying, we're going to bring another restraining order against you because you wrote about the company again. And they didn't really say I violated anything. They just said, you're still harassing. And there is no harassing. Okay? So I'm just talking about how I got fired and being honest about it. I've only got a few minutes. I guess 26 minutes. I can't go over 38 minutes. So the long and the short of it is, this time they only had 15 days. So they tried, and we had the hearing last week. Well, 3 weeks, so 2 weeks before the hearing, they tried to get me again. Said, you don't have to go to court. They were real nice and cordial, the boss. And so I had to go to another hearing before the hearing last week. And this time everybody was nice. And you don't really have to come out to court. All you have to do is just agree to these terms. And it'll be another year. And it won't be you don't have to get here and be embarrassed and us bring up all this ugly stuff and play the song in court. They're trying to be my friends and tell me, just go along with it, and you'll serve another year. You won't serve, but you'll be another year on the restraining order, and as long as you don't violate it, then that'll just go away. So he offered me another deal. He didn't want me to go to court. He said if I did, it'd be a full evidentiary hearing. Oh yeah, and I brought up in the court. This first meeting early at the end of October was just to determine if there was evidence to go forward. And I told the judge what happened, that my attorney told me that 21 months ago that she spoke to this attorney and they got together and were going to file perjury charges against me and go to jail. And the attorney said that never happened. And the judge said there's no way you'll go to jail for telling your side of the story. That's unethical. I said that's what she told me. I didn't have an attorney this time. And so they assured me that I wouldn't go to jail if I did go through with the hearing. So I told that attorney 3 days later. He sent me an email about 4 days. He said, I need to hear from you what you decided to do so I can prepare my case. I said, I'm going through with it. I'm going through with the hearing. And that was the last I heard from him. The morning I came into the court 4 weeks ago, I said, good. He looked at me and he said, good morning. Called me by my last name, good morning. We smiled at each other. I saw him at court last week. He said, good morning. He just growled. He didn't even look at me. He did not want to be there. And he was there along with the regional manager of the company. So I had never even talked to this reader. He's a younger fella. He's the one that fired me back in 21 months ago. So I was nervous. The worst day was Monday. My blood pressure was like 170 over 110. Then Tuesday, the night before, I was at peace. I was at calm. I said, if I win, if I lose, I had spent hours writing documents and all the outline of what I was going to say. And I just finally said, I'm just going to show up. It's all inside me anyway. And I had to be my own lawyer. I mean, I got to cross-examine the regional manager, and they got to cross-examine me. And it was brutal. It was 2 hours. And they brought up all this ugly stuff. And when it came my time to talk to the regional manager He was sitting up there on the stand. I could see fear in his eyes. He was afraid. Because this is the first time he's ever met me. And he's seen me before, but he's never talked to me. So here I am glaring at him in this courtroom. And I said, show me the evidence of my threats. Tell me what I did to lose my job on that date back in January of 2022. Where's the evidence of my making threats? Well, there wasn't any. He says there wasn't any specific threats. It was just the fact that you have reported suicidal feelings, and that usually when people are suicidal, they take others with them. Now, this is what I always believed, but I made him tell me. And I said something up to the fact. So basically, if a person has a heart attack or comes to work sick, maybe it's going to cause everybody else to have a heart attack, and he's going to take a bunch of them with him too. And I said to him, you fired me because I had a mental health problem. That is the bottom line. I did nothing to my boss, and you know I didn't. Nobody ever said you did. Yeah, you did. He kept saying nobody ever said I did anything, but they said I made threats. They said I harassed her, and she wasn't there, by the way. I said, where's the boss? Oh, she's too fragile. She's terrified. This is a very important part of this video, and it's very scary to put this out there. They said she didn't want to come. She's been afraid ever since. For 21 months, she's been afraid. She says every day she comes to work, she's afraid you're going to be there, or she's going to see you in the rearview mirror. That's what they told me. That's what the original. He told me this. Can you imagine the feelings of that? Being told that? But he told me that. And I said, this is what I said. You're responsible for that. And I also told the attorney when he cross-examined me, he grilled me. I said, you are responsible for her fear. Did you think that when you filed the restraining order against me and fired me and lost my job, you just think that's just going to be a neutral reaction? You think I'm just going to go away? You think there's no such thing as a cause and effect? You don't even know what cause and effect is, do you? Just what I've told him. So you just think you could just fire me and then just follow me a restraining order, and you just think somehow you're going to be rid of me. But 21 months later, here we are. And 21 months later, I'm still here. And if she's been afraid for 21 months, now she's going to be afraid for 3 more years. Because that's what they gave me. They gave me 3 more years of the order. Now, if I wouldn't have went to court and signed their injunction, it'd only been a year. But I said, you're responsible for her fear, not me. You're the one that dug up that article that I wrote on Medium and showed it to her. I didn't show it to her. You showed it to her. I said, you're the terrorizer. You're the victimizer. You're the perpetrator. This is what I said to the regional manager. Well, I had to do what I had to do, he says. He says, you're talking about suicide, and I got to protect my company. I said, well, how's it working out for you? I said, how's your decisions? Your decision to fire me, how's it working? Tell me how all this. I said, it cost you $3,200 to fire me because I got unemployment. And the state paid me $3,200 because you reported that I quit. You told the state of Florida, Tennessee, that I quit my job. And so when it came time for the hearing, because I appealed it, you didn't show up. And they automatically gave me So let's see. You fire me. It cost you $3,300 to fire me. You pay unemployment. And plus you paid this attorney thousands of dollars to file this order against me. And you'll probably pay him $1,000 more. So you tell me how your right decision. I mean, I was brutal with this guy. I'll be honest with you, I felt kind of bad. He looked a nice enough fella. He was shaking. This is the first time he had to deal with a person that he fired 21 months ago, and he had to face me head on. And then the attorney got up there, and I had to get up there and be cross-examined by the attorney, and he was brutal. He comes at me telling me that you don't think your words are weapons? You don't think, your words, what you say about other people? And he started bringing up the stuff I said. He found some other things I had written on Medium and where I had criticized some other people. And he said, when you tell the world that you have rage against women, or that you've been in 250 therapists, or you've been in hospitals, you don't think that terrorizes people? I said, My intention was not to terrorize. If it upsets him, it upsets him. I said, I tell the truth. I didn't tell that stuff to my boss to terrorize anybody. And I checked in with her, and she said she was okay with it. But the bottom line is, I called him a hypocrite. I said, you don't have any room to be talking about words. I said, you're a prosecutor. I said, you're the predator. I said, the only difference between you're illegal. You're a legalized predator. You can legally come after people, and you use words to terrorize the weak people of our society, the broken people like me. That's what you do. So you're the terrorizer. You're the one responsible for the continued anguish of my former boss and her fear. It's like throwing gas on a fire. Restraining order is basically an attack. It is an act of aggression against another person. There are women and there are people in this world that need to be protected. They need to be protected from people who can't control themselves. But I'm not that kind of person. Okay? There's a man who got arrested making a threat to this Marjorie Greene, senator, I think, Congress lady. He threatened to kill her, and of course he's locked up. Now, he couldn't control himself, and now he's got to pay a price. But I got back in that prosecutor's face, and I told him that I'm not backing down from you. I said, you've done nothing but make this situation worse. And he just finally, the judge, she was all out of shape. Everybody was upset. I mean, I shook the whole place. She was angry. He was angry. Everybody was, and finally just ended. And he walks out. I mean, the hearing was just boom, it was over. And the last thing the judge said, I got to hurry up here, she says was, now this really shouldn't concern you. I mean, this is not anything that should distress you any further. Oh, yeah, really? Well, you're not the one that has the 3-year restraining order. So that's what happened in court. I may come back and do another video here as an afterthought, but I got to go now. Tell me if you think this video is putting me in danger. And just do this smart ass comments and I will delete you. And no one has permission to copy this video. Well, let me know what you think about what you've heard. If I'm in danger for putting this up.